I don't know. I feel like we're going to have President J.D. Vance by the end of 2026. I get it, but he is the vice president.
You think this ends his presidency prematurely?
Yes. He'll be sick. He'll be that. Yeah. I do. I think he's not going to make it to the end.
Be careful what you wish for. I think J.D. Vance is scarier.
I agree. Hello. I just called him a couch to San Francisco.
She's so funny.
Hello. Sorry, crazy tech lady. So far, it's the Democrats who are getting a good Epstein colonoscopy, like Hakeem Jeffries. The recent 20,000 email dump revealing a decade-old fundraising request from a political consulting firm inviting the notorious pedophile to a Democratic Party dinner and to get to know the rising star congressman. It even referred to him as, get this, Brooklyn's Barack. It's unclear if Epstein ever took them up on the offer, and Hakeem denies they ever met. Well, then there's Stacey Plaskett. She's behind door number 2, and she's defending her texting BFF.
Jeffrey Epstein had information, and I was going to get information to get at the truth. Having a friendship with him is not something that I would deem to have.
At the time, he was a known sex offender, and it had been detailed all the sexual abuse.
There are a lot of people who have done a lot of crimes, and as a prosecutor, you get information from people where you can.
So no regrets, basically, is what you're saying.
I'm moving forward.
She'd like to move forward. Another one who's moving on, another Dem just fell into the Epstein quicksand. Larry Summers resigning from the OpenAI board, and Harvard announcing it's investigating his ties to Epstein after emails showed years of a chummy and creepy personal correspondence between the two men. Things getting mighty awkward when Summers started class at Harvard on the subject.
You will have seen my statement of regret, expressing my shame with respect to what I did in communication with Mr. Epstein, and that I've said that I'm going to step back from public activities for a time, but I think it's very important to fulfill my teaching obligations. And so, with your permission, we're going to go forward.
The Democrats' house of cards is collapsing in real time. Hakeem Jeffries just went on CNN and defended his own personal relationship to Jeffrey Epstein, defended the Democrat delegate from the Virgin Islands texting Jeffrey Epstein in the middle of an oversight hearing about Donald Trump, and defended a Democrat congressman who did something so sleazy it makes Kamala Harris's undemocratic presidential anointment look mild. And the CNN host absolutely humiliates Hakeem for being a disgrace, as always.
It's because moments ago, lawmakers rejected a resolution to censure Democratic delegate Stacey Plaskett. She represents the Virgin Islands, for texting with Jeffrey Epstein during a 2019 hearing that featured Donald Trump's former fixer, Michael Cohen. These were texts that were among the 20,000 pages of documents the House released last week, and they show that Epstein texted Stacey Plaskett saying, quote, Cohen brought up Rona, keeper of the secrets, referring to Trump's longtime assistant, Rona Graff. Plaskett responded, quote, Rona, and then asked, quick, I'm up next. Is that an acronym? Epstein replied, that's his assistant. A few minutes later, Plaskett asked this.
As Ms. Rona, what is Ms. Rona's position?
Rona Graff is Mr. Trump's executive assistant.
And would she be able to corroborate many of the statements that you've made here?
Yes, her office is directly next to his, and she's involved in a lot that went on.
A minute after Plaskett wrapped up her questioning there, Epstein texted her, quote, good work. The text exchange comes just 3 months after the Miami Herald published its investigation detailing Epstein's abuse of young girls. And tonight, House Democrats are fiercely defending Stacey Plaskett, with the leader, Hakeem Jeffries, calling the censure vote a political stunt, as Plaskett is echoing that defense and denying that Epstein had any influence on her questions.
Now, I wanted to start with that because it's important context for what Walmart Obama is about to defend. It has become so painfully clear and incriminating how deeply the Democrat establishment was colluding with Jeffrey Epstein to concoct theories about Donald Trump that would possibly ruin his reputation. Jeffrey Epstein's island was in the Virgin Islands, and a new report just came out that exposed that Epstein was a consistent donor to Stacey Plaskett. That's how he was able to act with impunity on his island for so long. And their relationship was so good that he was feeding her questions during an oversight hearing about Donald Trump. And then she has the nerve to say, I did nothing wrong. Whatever he was texting me had no influence on my questions, when the evidence literally shows she had no idea what Rona was or who Rona was until Epstein explained, and then she used that information literally in her next question. That is textbook definition getting caught with your hand in the cookie jar. And she chooses to lie despite us having both text and video evidence.
They've taken a text exchange which shows no participation, no assistance, no involvement in any illegal activity, and weaponized it for political theater. Because that's what this is.
And you heard Stacey Plaskett there. She was arguing her texts with Jeffrey Epstein were not illegal. But in your view, were they appropriate?
Well, Stacey Plaskett is not accused of violating any House rule, any law, any statute, and she's clearly and unequivocally denounced Jeffrey Epstein. And I think what the survivors fought for today is the type of transparency that came out of the House, went through the Senate, and is now on its way to Donald Trump's desk, where hopefully he'll sign it into law, because at the end of the day, all the American people are asking for is just the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, which is why these Epstein files that Donald Trump and his administration has been hiding for months need to be released.
But do you think it was appropriate for her to be texting with Jeffrey Epstein 11 years after he pleaded guilty?
I mean, I have not had a conversation with Stacey Plaskett to discuss this issue.
But just a month ago, Hakeem Jeffries and the Democrats were saying Donald Trump being pictured with Epstein in the 90s was inexcusable. It was despicable. It was morally repugnant. It was indisputable evidence that Donald Trump was an active participant in all of the most notorious and nefarious activities. But a Democrat in the House texting Epstein in 2019, getting fed answers that hopefully led to Donald Trump's downfall, was perfectly acceptable. That's why Donald Trump called this a Democrat hoax, because Democrats were never interested in uncovering the truth and getting justice for the victims. They wanted to uncover the truth so far as that truth incriminated Donald Trump. And because the Democrats and Jeffrey Epstein have the same aim of ruining Donald Trump's reputation, they were perfect natural allies. Despite the host asking Hakeem Jeffries twice if it was inappropriate and Hakeem Jeffries refusing to answer the question twice, she asks him one more time and Walmart Obama loses his mind.
Do you plan to talk to her about it?
I think that we successfully defeated a resolution that lacked any basis, was not credible, and was being brought by an individual who was trying to weaponize this issue to reinvigorate his own failed gubernatorial campaign in South Carolina. It was rejected on a bipartisan basis on the floor today. That's the end of the story.
Yeah, I was just asking if you personally believe messaging with Jeffrey Epstein, who is at that point a registered sex offender, is appropriate for a member of the House Democratic Caucus.
That's the third time you've asked me this question, and I'm going to give you the same exact answer.
Hakeem boldly states, I'm going to give you the same answer. You didn't give an answer. That's why she had to ask you the same thing 3 times. You gave a response, but you did not give an answer.
Well, let me ask you about you, because the White House has been highlighting an email that I'm sure you've seen today that Jeffrey Epstein got in 2013. They say it shows you were soliciting money and dinner from an Epstein. The email was not sent from you. It was sent from a political consulting firm called Dynamic SRG that says, we are thrilled to announce we are working with Congressman Hakeem Jeffries. Shoot us an email or give us a call if you would like to get involved. What's your response? Do you recall that email being sent to Jeffrey Epstein from that team?
Yeah, of course, I have no recollection of the email. I've never had a conversation with him, never met him, know nothing about him other than the extreme things that he's been convicted of doing. And that's why, I'm just strongly supportive of the effort, backing the survivors to make sure that everything can come out, whatever is in those Department of Justice files.
So you never got a donation from Jeffrey Epstein or anything like that?
Certainly not.
Give you a little spoiler from the deep dive video. This email exchange with Hakeem Jeffries' team occurred 5 years after Jeffrey Epstein was first convicted of child trafficking. And even then, they invited Epstein to an event to meet Walmart Obama and the actual Obama. You already see the former Secretary of Treasury Larry Summers say that he's canceling all public speaking engagements and resigning from his position in Harvard. This guy, a Democrat, was exposed in the Epstein files for asking Jeffrey Epstein, who was at the time a convicted child trafficker, for dating advice with women. You can't make this stuff up. From the beginning, Donald Trump knew he was innocent, and the Epstein files did nothing but incriminate the entire Democratic establishment. If there was even a shred of evidence that incriminated Donald Trump, Jeffrey Epstein would have released that information on his own volition through one of the many Democrats he was colluding with in 2015 or 2016. But instead, all the files revealed was throughout Donald Trump's first presidency. Epstein was colluding with the entire Democrat establishment to figure out how to stretch and distort the truth to try and make it seem like Donald Trump was a participant on his island. So Donald Trump thought, yeah, it would be sweet to bury the Democrats with this stuff, but what would be more sweet is to goad them into begging for their own destruction. And that's exactly what happened, and now this realization that they were tricked is eating Hakeem Jeffries alive. Donald Trump successfully hijacked the Democrats' own Trump derangement syndrome and manipulated them to ask Donald Trump to bury them alive.
If you enjoy this content, please consider subscribing to my channel to stay up to date with future videos. Thank you for watching.